Listen to your favorite shows live and on demand 24/7. Download the 77 WABC mobile app now. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Friday, January 17th. Thank you. Thank God for a Friday. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today. High 39. And then tomorrow you're going to want to get outside because it's going to be nice. Clouds, there'll be rain in the afternoon, but the high is going to be 42. And then it's all downhill from there for a number of days. On Sunday, it'll be sun and clouds in the morning, snow showers in the evening into, in some places, the early morning here in the city by Monday morning. A lot of you have off because it'll be, isn't Monday Martin Luther King Day? Yeah, it is. So then you get 1 to 3 inches by early Monday morning, and then the temps just plummet. I think it's on Tuesday. The high's only going to be like 19 degrees. Now, of course, it's winter, so it shouldn't be a shock, but still, that's awfully cold. If you are walking out the door with us right now, it is cold. 25 clear in New Rochelle up in Rockland County. 23 and clear in Maplewood over in New Jersey. And it's 26 and clear right outside our Midtown studios. Boy, we got a lot to get to as we work our way up. 6 o'clock hour, Sid and Friends in the morning. We can tell you some good news for some of you that were stuck on subways into the late hours last night. Everything seems to be up and running this morning. Power failure caused the problems yesterday. Subway suspended from Columbus Circle to 125th Street. It started during the evening rush, of course, which is the worst time when people are trying to get home. And subway ridership, by the way, way up since congestion pricing began. And riders, of course, frustrated. A lot of them found themselves sitting on platforms waiting to get home.
It's terrible, honestly.
We were stuck on the train for over an hour.
At first, it said 30 minutes, and then it said 40 minutes.
Tired. I want to go home. Now, who knows how long it's going to take.
Yeah, that's the worst on the way home. A, B, C, D trains, they were halted, started at around 5:30 or so. We were watching platforms, Times Square. They were just packed with people waiting to try to figure out a way to get home. They had MTA crews out at some point who were inspecting the tracks at Columbus Circle as confused riders were waiting for some direction about what's the way to get home.
It's just unfortunate. It's just got to do better. As a city, why do we pay all these taxes? Nothing works.
So the MTA figured it out eventually. There was a loss of power on the third rail at 59th Street, and that was causing all of these issues. So for hours, these trains were suspended. But the good news is, again, I looked just now, everything seems to be up and running this morning. But, of course, people got home late last night.
It's like they're spending all of this money with congestion prices and all this work throughout the city.
Yeah.
And it's constantly breakdowns of the trains.
That's right.
The trains are unsafe. People are sleeping on it.
Yeah. People are just frustrated because you're paying a lot of money. There's this congestion pricing money, which is starting to pour in. Maybe that'll help fix what's wrong, but people say, come on, get it done. And while we're talking about the subway, starting Monday, the city's going to deploy 2 officers on every overnight subway train, adding 300 officers to the entire system. This was Governor Hochul. She promised this in her State of the State, and so now it's being rolled out. Officers will be aboard these subway trains starting at about 9 o'clock at night through the early morning to make riders feel safe.
We have to hit rock bottom so they can put officers on the trains. What are they for?
Yeah, that's a rider up in the Bronx. It's funny when you talk to riders and you tell them that there's going to be police officers on these overnight trains. They're like, yeah, okay. But they say it's still frightening to get on these trains unless you're on the specific car with the cop on it.
They're just trying to intimidate us, honestly. And I don't feel protected. So if I'm feeling intimidated and not protected, what am I supposed to do?
And also, did you see this? They started rolling out these turnstile fins. Have you seen these things? These jagged fins that are likely going to come to a subway station near you. It's part of the MTA's push to stop fare evaders. The vertical metal fins, as they're called, have ridges on the top. They're meant to deter fair invaders from jumping over the turnstile. So picture this, when you see those people jumping the turnstile, they take one hand and they put it on one side of the turnstile and put the other hand on the other, and then they throw their legs over the turnstile. Well, now they've put fins there, these metal fins, so you can't really do it, or at least it would hurt to do it. Now, what's interesting is when they put this at the 59th Street Lexington Avenue subway station on Wednesday, that's the first station to have these fins, riders said, okay, wow, all right, maybe they're doing something to stop fare evasion. But then later in the day, there was just picture after picture of people using these fins to get them over. It didn't seem to stop them. So people were willing to get a little pain, endure a little pain from these sharp fins to avoid paying the fare. Now, last year, the Citizens Budget Commission says the MTA lost about $700 million in fare evaders between the subways and the buses. 5:05, okay, that hostage deal with Hamas back on. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu and his cabinet are going to take a vote probably any minute now, I'd imagine. Let's see, it's about 12 o'clock in Israel. And, of course, things close down early there because it's Shabbos. So there'll be some vote today. Yesterday, you'll remember Prime Minister Netanyahu saying there was some problem with the deal with Hamas. He was blaming Hamas for the holdup. But now, apparently, whatever it was, they've worked this all out. Some of it is just keeping the prime minister's coalition together. Some members of his coalition said they were going to walk out if he made this deal, which would make the government fall. That may still happen. But now this deal with Hamas apparently is going to begin on Sunday. And back here, you have lots of people who are, taking a sigh of relief, saying, thank God this has gotten done.
It's a mix of hope and also the reality of the past, many months finally hitting in certain ways.
In Paterson, New Jersey, which has one of the larger Palestinian populations in the tri-state, probably has the largest one, they say they're happy that this deal is getting done, too, because they have lots of relatives whose lives haven't been so great over the last 15 months.
Our hearts, minds, and prayers are with the people of Gaza in these moments as they begin the painful and arduous process of picking up the pieces of their shattered lives.
And for many Jewish American families, it's been an agonizing 15 months, of course, as well, since Hamas took those Israeli hostages, killed more than 1,200 Israelis. Edan Alexander, whose story we've followed very closely, he is the 20-year-old from Tenafly, New Jersey, who, when he graduated high school, moved to Israel, joined the Israeli army, and then was kidnapped on October 7th of 2023. His father has been told the first group of hostages that are set to be released over the next 42 days, they're going to release a few at a time, every couple days. And he says he's not among those, but he's happy for the families who are going to get to see their loved ones, hopefully.
We've been so close before, even back in November of 2023, and so many times between then and now. But right now it feels like it's happening, and we are happy. Happy for everybody, and let's see.
Now, his son would come out in a second phase of this ceasefire deal that would include soldiers. That's assuming we get to that second phase. Let's keep our fingers crossed that WABC News Time 5:09. Antony Blinken, of course, Secretary of State, the outgoing Secretary of State, holding a final press conference saying goodbye to his fellow workers at the State Department, talking about this deal that Israel and Hamas had made.
It's going to take tremendous effort, political courage, compromise to realize that possibility, to try to ensure that the gains that have been achieved over the past 15 months at enormous, excruciating cost are actually enduring.
So there were two reporters that apparently got into this press conference that interrupted the press conference, accusing Antony Blinken in the U.S. of supporting genocide in the Middle East.
Please, sir, respect the process. Thank you.
Oh, respect the process. Respect the process.
Now, these are reporters, not protesters.
From Amnesty International to the ICJ saying that Israel's doing genocide and extermination, and you're telling me to respect the process.
Yeah, Blinken seemed to be surprised that it was reporters who were doing the screaming at him yesterday down in D.C. 5:11, out to Los Angeles. The fire department there says it's doing all it can to get people back home into the burn area so they can see what happened to their homes.
The road to recovery is long. We want to manage expectations that some of these homes are absolutely devastated.
LA Fire Department Captain Eric Scott says many different agencies working to comb through the burn areas to make sure it's safe before people come to check on their homes. Hot spots being put out, gas lines being checked, the roads are being surveyed to make sure it's okay to go home.
You have SoCal Gas because the infrastructure underneath is completely damaged. We have Department of Water and Power because power lines are down, no drinking water. Caltrans is out there.
Firefighters still battling two blazes burning in the Los Angeles area.
The winds aren't necessarily here in the city, but with that, we still have a large amount of unburned dry fuel with low humidity.
The Palisades fire near the coast and the Eaton fire in and around Altadena and Pasadena have left thousands of homes, businesses destroyed. The death toll has ticked up too, at least 27 confirmed dead now.
Evacuation orders remain. They fluctuate between 100 here, 100 there. They go up, they go down.
And they continue to make looting arrests. And it's hard to imagine there's much to loot from some of these homes that are burned down. But others, of course, people have just evacuated their houses, and those houses are okay, except for these looters.
Our total is at 47. We have 36 at the Eaton incident and 11 at the Palisades incident.
So just to tell you that it's still not great there. More than 170,000 are under evacuation orders or warnings. And now the fight is going to be over what kind of cash is going to come to these homeowners, how much help California is going to get. Democratic Congressman Mike Levin of California says there should be no conditions on wildfire relief from Washington, D.C.
Never in our nation's history has the federal government placed such politically driven conditions on disaster aid to its own citizens. We can have good faith debates about water policy and infrastructure deficiencies, and we should. But that's not what this is about.
Some arguing in D.C. that this money should be tied not to talking about global warming, that kind of thing. They're worried about how this money is going to be spent. And the congressman here, the one from California, is saying the disaster aid should not be tied to a debt ceiling bill.
This is a bad faith effort to use California as a punching bag. This is about the promotion of half-truths, conspiracy theories, and outright lies. It's unacceptable and downright shameful to use the suffering of Californians in need, or anyone in need, to solve your internal political disputes. Please stop. Stop playing games. Let's get the disaster aid to the people who need it, and let's do it now.
Congressman Levin upset yesterday. This was after House Speaker Mike Johnson says that any federal funding sent to California must come with conditions to prevent its use from controversial issues like climate change or sanctuary cities. One Republican congressman, Kevin Kiley, he says he supports House Speaker Mike Johnson in his move.
More broadly, we need to make the policy changes that are going to be necessary to stop these sort of catastrophes from continuing to occur in all parts of the state.
He wants to make sure that aid is directed towards essential needs, such as fire prevention, water storage, and law enforcement. But Governor Gavin Newsom firing back, another one, saying that they really need this money now.
We never conditioned it. We never talked about putting the full faith and credit of the United States of America with the debt ceiling bill so we can get tax cuts for billionaires and corporations that don't need it, as opposed to condemnation and divisive language that has aided and embedded nothing except mis and disinformation that's flamed fear and flamed a lot of anxiety for folks that are simply trying to recover.
Oh, we're going to get more into the story because now there's this recall effort in California to get rid of California Governor Gavin Newsom. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Friday. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Friday. Good morning to you, Noam Layden. I'll start here with the NHL and the Rangers out in Utah, where Artemi Panarin scored twice. Chris Kreider got the go-ahead goal with just about 10 minutes left, and the Rangers rallied for a 5-3 victory over the Utah Hockey Club. Riley Smith tied it 3-3 with a shorthanded goal 28 seconds into the third period for the Rangers, who had been 0-17-1 this season when trailing after 2. Arthur Kaliev also scored as New York improved to 4-0-2 in its past 6 games. Igor Shesterkin made 28 saves, and Sam Carrick had 2 assists in the third. coming up next for the Rangers. They'll host the Columbus Blue Jackets tomorrow night. To the ice in Elmont, where the Islanders suffered a 5-3 loss at the hands of the Philadelphia Flyers. Bo Horvat, Matthew Barzal, and Anders Lee scored for New York. Ilya Sorokin stopped 19 shots after a 2-game absence due to illness, but the Islanders lost their second straight. Horvat's power play goal snapped a 14-game team drought with the man advantage dating to December 8th, but New York dropped to 9-11-2 at UBS Arena with their second consecutive loss against an Eastern Conference playoff contender to begin a 7-game homestand. Up next for the Isles, they'll host the San Jose Sharks tomorrow night. Lastly, the Devils fell in overtime to the Maple Leafs. Final score 4-3 from Toronto, thanks to a William Nylander OT winner. Nico Hischier had 2 power play goals for New Jersey. Jack Hughes had a goal and 2 assists, and Jacob Markstrom made 37 saves. The Devs have just one regulation victory over their last 9 contests. They'll be back out there tomorrow night to try and rebound when they'll welcome in the aforementioned Flyers for a Saturday night date. Nothing doing on the hardwood last night, but looking ahead to tonight in the NBA, the Knicks get set to welcome in the Minnesota Timberwolves for a 7:30 tip before the Nets get underway in Los Angeles against the Lakers at 10:30. Finally, we look ahead to divisional round weekend in the NFL playoffs, with all 4 remaining teams playing for a spot in their respective conference's championship game, or 8 remaining teams, I should say. Leading off tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 p.m., the AFC 1 seed and 2-time defending champions Kansas City Chiefs will welcome in the 4 seed Houston Texans as 8-point favorites, before the NFC 1 seed Detroit Lions host the 6 seed Washington Commanders at 8 p.m. as 9.5-point favorites there. On Sunday, the NFC leads off with the 2 seed Philadelphia Eagles facing the 4 seed LA Rams in Philadelphia as 6.5-point favorites, before the AFC wraps things up.
Are you going to be at that game?
No, I'm not going to be at that game. We got outbid on those on our seats there, Noam.
Well, how much did the people who got the tickets actually pay?
A lot more than we were willing to pay.
How much were they?
I think we bid about $300, $400 per ticket, and they almost doubled that. Just about. Yeah.
So they were willing to pay $600 to sit in the watch
per
the game?
seat. Per seat. There you go. Money. Yeah. Well, they're good seats. I'll tell you that much. And you never know when it could be the last time you get to see, your team this season. So. You want to try and get there if you can get there, but I mean, I don't have the funds to pay for that.
That's a lot of money for a football game.
Would have been Papa Ellick spotting me, which he wasn't willing to do. So we'll watch from the good old watering hole, if you will. There, no. The Eagles will face the 4 seed Rams in Philadelphia on Sunday at 3 before the AFC wraps things up on Sunday night at 6:30. The 3 seed Baltimore Ravens in Buffalo to battle the 2 seed Buffalo Bills as 1-point road favorites. In my opinion, most people's opinion, that's the game of the weekend. That is your sports, Noam, and I'm Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:20. There are major rumblings over whether or not California Governor Gavin Newsom will keep his job once the wildfires in Southern California are out. One formal recall effort by a group called Randy Economy has already been launched.
I think what we're seeing was people are Californians first, and they'll put aside the divisive passion and replace it with focused passion. And I think that that's the key.
That's Ann Hyde Dunsum. She's with the Rescue California, who led the last recall effort against Governor Newsom back in 2020.
My congratulations.
And some of the biggest names in music are going to come together to raise money for the thousands of people affected by the wildfires in L.A. TMZ reports Billie Eilish, Lady Gaga, Red Hot Chili Peppers are the first groups to sign on to this fundraiser. Sources say Green Day, Jelly Roll, and Gracie Abrams will also be in the lineup. 521, out to Washington State, the FBI releasing new information to hopefully help generate tips in the investigation to identify the people who set these ballot boxes on fire last year. Do you remember this in Vancouver and Portland?
This is a very volatile mix that can burn as hot as 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Investigators want to hear from anybody who knows about this thermite. Thermite apparently was used to start the fires, so they're hoping maybe somebody that will stand out for somebody. They know somebody that has thermite in the house.
Thermite looks like metal shavings or metal powder. Each device likely contained a coffee cup-sized portion of thermite.
And that's FBI agent Mike Harrington, who says the suspect may be giving signs that they were involved.
Unusual interest in this case, such as closely following the news coverage or expressing admiration of the person responsible.
FBI's put up a $25,000 reward that leads to an arrest of that individual or individuals. 522 among The character witnesses speaking at Pam Bondi's confirmation hearing in D.C. to be the next Attorney General was the now former Palm Beach County State Attorney in Florida. His name is David Ehrenberg, and he's a Democrat who worked closely with Bondi.
She's a very likable person, and I think you'll find that from everyone who knows her in Tallahassee and throughout Florida.
Ehrenberg telling a Senate panel that while they had their political differences, he says Bondi is someone who is hard not to like.
You're a Democrat. You ran as a Democrat, were elected as a Democrat. And you also, in this last election, voted for Kamala Harris. Is that right?
Correct.
You've also worked closely with General Bondi.
He said, yeah, he did, but he said she's really good at what she does.
We were able to shut down the pill mills. Florida was the pill supplier for the rest of the country. It was a national embarrassment. We ended that. She appointed me to be the lead person, but we could not have done it without her.
And then you had hedge fund founder Scott Bessent, who was nominated for Treasury Secretary. He was questioned yesterday.
It's an honor and a privilege to be considered by this committee as the president's nominee for the Secretary of the Treasury.
And then, of course, somebody that's well known to us here in New York, former Congressman Lee Zeldin, facing questions over his nomination to head up the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency.
My desire, if confirmed as EPA administrator, is to increase productivity of the EPA. I want to be able to help lead this agency in a way that all of you on both sides of the aisle can be proud of.
No, there's every thought that all three of these people are going to be easily confirmed.
I want maximum collaboration, not just with Congress, but internally within the EPA.
Down in Florida, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announcing his appointment to fill Marco Rubio's Senate seat. Marco Rubio, of course, going to be the next Secretary of State when he's confirmed.
So that is why today I'm proud to announce that I am selecting our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, to serve as our next U.S. Senator.
DeSantis says Florida needs a senator who understands the importance of appointing Supreme Court justices and the fight against illegal immigration.
You're probably right. I probably won't like it. But I'm ready to show up and fight for this nation and fight for President Trump to deliver the American First agenda on day one. We were going to protect their rights. We were going to protect the autonomy of this state. We were going to protect our communities. And I believe that we have done that, and I think we have to take that same direction to the United States Senate.
DeSantis says Moody was a prosecutor, a judge, and she was actually a former beauty queen.
She's honorably served our people as her time as Attorney General over these last 6 years. She's a fifth-generation native of Plant City, Florida, and even was named queen of the famous Strawberry Festival back in her youth.
What is it with Florida and all these very attractive attorney generals they have there? 5:25, of course, Monday is Inauguration Day, and it's going to be bitterly cold for President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration as temps will dip well below average for this time of year in D.C. The weather forecast calls for a chance of snow Sunday night, followed by really gusty winds, and the high is only going to be around 20 degrees. And what forecasters are telling us, with the wind chill, it'll feel like it's in the lower teens, and that's for potentially hundreds of thousands of people who are going to show up for this inauguration on Monday. If the forecast holds, and there's no reason to suggest that it won't, the inauguration would be by far the coldest since former President Reagan's second inauguration back in 1985, when they actually held the swearing-in ceremony indoors and the parade was canceled. The temperature at noon that day was 7 degrees, so it was a little bit colder than it'll be on Monday. Just to sort of see how it normally is in Washington this time of year, it was 42 degrees for President Biden's 2021 inauguration. In 2017, for Trump's first inauguration, it was 48 degrees. I mean, those are temperatures, no doubt, you can stand outside. Former President Barack Obama's in 2013 was 45 degrees. But for the folks who will be down in Washington for Inauguration Day on Monday, they better dress up really warm. And you're talking about it's going to feel like it's 13, 14, 15 degrees out when the president puts his hand on the Bible on Monday at noon.
Listen to your favorite shows live and on demand 24/7. Download the 77 WABC mobile app now. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5:35. Good morning. It is Friday, January 17th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today. High 39. Saturday's going to be good for the most part. We'll have clouds in the morning, but rain in the late afternoon, so get out early. The high's going to be 42, which is going to feel warm compared to next week. And then Sunday is where it all goes downhill. Sun and clouds in the morning. Snow showers begin in the evening. They last into the early morning here in the city. By Monday morning, we could have 1 to 3 inches on the ground. The high going to be 36. And then looking forward to next week, there are a couple days where the highs will only be in the low 20s. So when you see 42 over the weekend, make sure you get out and enjoy that because, well, it is winter, but it's going to be awfully cold. I find this whole Wendy Williams story incredibly sad, right? Have you been following, have you watched that little documentary about her that came out last year? I mean, clearly there's problems going on there, and she actually called into a New York City radio station to talk about her problems yesterday.
In an interview with The Breakfast Club, Williams says that she feels like she is trapped in a prison. The former talk show host has been under guardianship since 2022.
For the last 3 years, I have been caught up in the system. This has been 3 years I'm caught up in the system. Excuse me, where I am, okay, you have to get keys to unlock the door to press the elevator to go downstairs.
Williams was diagnosed with dementia in 2023, but says she is not incapacitated or impaired. Fans have responded with the hashtag #FreeWendy on social media. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
When you listen to that interview on The Breakfast Club, she sounds fine. And she even says, hey, don't I sound fine? So, I mean, maybe there's more to the story, but either way, it's a bizarre and kind of sad one. WABC News Time, 5:39. Let's go out to Staten Island, where this group, the Staten Island Beautification Squad, continues to take bouquets of plastic flowers and put them in the way of traffic cameras there so people won't get tickets for speeding across Staten Island. I was in touch with people who were sort of connected to this group over the last 24 hours, and apparently they were going to go out and do more of this last night. They were going to hit like another couple dozen cameras, put plastic flowers with a zip tie in front of the camera so they could take pictures of license plates of people speeding on Staten Island. And what these folks are saying is enough is enough. You got us for congestion pricing. You got us for the Verrazano Bridge. And now you're getting us for these, or have been getting us for speed cameras that initially were supposed to just be set up in school zones and only on during the school day. But now they've spread and they're on 24/7 to grab $50, by the way, you get slapped with every time you get one of those speed camera tickets. So we reached out to Staten Island Borough President Vito Fasella to say, what should happen to these people who are putting up these bouquets in front of cameras? Most people on Staten Island would tell you they're heroes. What does Vito Fasella think?
Well, unfortunately, the speed cameras, almost like congestion pricing, were introduced to the people, say, of Staten Island, really under false pretenses. And I think what you're seeing is a lot of frustration being played out. Speed cameras were initially, we were told, people of Staten Island were told, we want to protect kids around schools and prevent people from speeding around schools. And, you know, who's not opposed to that? But what happened over time is the powers that be realized that they were cash cows. They put them everywhere across Staten Island. And instead of just being on and operable during school hours, that went 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Department of Transportation sent us a statement. They say that tampering with speed cameras by putting these flowers in front of them, they say speeding kills. Tampering with speed cameras is unacceptable and puts lives at risk. The NYPD telling us that when they find these crew of people, they will be held accountable. But here's more from Vito Fasella. We asked him, should something happen to these people? What should happen when they're caught?
I'm not, I don't sort of encourage anybody to cross that line. But what I'm saying, the bigger conversation really should be on the political leadership that are imposing these things on hardworking people, that maybe they should rethink different ways in which all they're doing is looking to suck more money out of hardworking people. And you have a handful of folks who are hurting, probably financially, and this is their way of protesting. I'm not condoning it. I'm not supporting it. I'm not encouraging it.
If you're seeing those fake flowers this morning, let me know. 14 locations where they had the fake flowers earlier this week have been taken down by the DOT. But what I was told is this crew was going to work overnight to put more of those flowers up. And they leave behind a calling card, by the way, that says these flowers are courtesy of the Staten Island Beautification Squad. I don't know. I think it's good to cheer them on, no? 5:42, a teenager arrested after a break-in at a home in Westchester County. This poor 13-year-old boy, he wakes up in the middle of the night. He finds 3 strangers in his room looking for valuables to steal. They grab a whole bunch of items, PlayStations, iPhones, Apple Watch, a vehicle key fob, and then they race from the home. This is in Mamaroneck, and people who live in this neighborhood say they're not used to this thing kind of happening in their hood.
You never hear anything, especially around here, this area. So it was surprising.
Now, they don't think this 13-year-old knew the 3 who broke into his house. They've arrested a 16-year-old, but they think there's 2 other teenagers that they'll find eventually.
It's scary to wake up and find somebody in your room.
The good part is that teenager is okay, but of course awfully frightened. 5:43 out to Queens. A woman's been charged now in the death of that Queens super who was found dead wrapped in trash bags on Tuesday night. It is Sandra Cotto Navarro. And the reason it took a little while to slap her with charges is she's a tiny woman, and they couldn't believe that she would be strong enough to kill this super who was a big guy. Neighbors at Navarro's Kew Gardens Hills apartment building where they found this body on Tuesday, they're shocked because they like this woman.
She was always sweet, honestly. She was always very sweet. I'm just a little surprised by
so I should point out that these are allegations against this woman. She is accused of killing 55-year-old Jose Portillo, who was struck over the head, stabbed in the neck and leg. His body was discovered in garbage bags and stuffed under a bed. Now, the motive, you might say, what is the motive? Well, apparently Navarro and her boyfriend, who lived in this apartment, owed back rent, $24,000 in back rent. Now, they're not going to slap any charges against her husband. I guess it's her husband, not her boyfriend. They're not going to slap any charges against her husband. They think she was the only one behind it. And at least for now, anyway. So this apartment building's on 70th Avenue. And people who knew the super, who knew Jose, say he was a great guy. I can't believe anybody would harm him.
He's absolutely very nice guy. He was always helping everyone. He was always on the streets, going and coming back the whole day. You see him over here. Everybody know him. And whenever we need him, we ask him, and he always help everyone, whatever they need.
Yeah, just a kind of tragic story, of course, for that family. 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk and Justin Alec.
Thank you, Noam Lloyd. We'll start here with the NHL and the Rangers out in Utah, where Artemi Panarin scored twice. Chris Kreider got the go-ahead goal. With just about 10 minutes left, and the Rangers rallied for a 5-3 victory over the Utah Hockey Club. Riley Smith tied it 3-3 with a shorthanded goal 28 seconds into the third for the Rangers, who had been 0-17-1 this season when trailing after 2. Arthur Kaliev also scored as New York improved to 4-0-2 in its past 6 games. Igor Shesterkin made 28 saves, and Sam Carrick had 2 assists in that third period. Coming up next for the Rangers, they'll host the Columbus Blue Jackets tomorrow night. To the ice out in Elmont, where the Islanders suffered a 5-3 loss at the hands of the Philadelphia Flyers. Bo Horvat, Matthew Barzal, and Anders Lee scored for New York. Ilya Sorokin stopped 19 shots after a 2-game absence due to illness, but the Islanders lost their second straight. Horvat's power play goal snapped a 14-game team drought with the man advantage dating to December 8th. But New York dropped to 9-11-2 at UBS with their second consecutive loss against an Eastern Conference playoff contender to begin a 7-game homestand. Up next for the Isles, they'll host the San Jose Sharks tomorrow night. Lastly, the Devils fell in overtime to the Maple Leafs. Final score 4-3 from Toronto, thanks to a William Nylander OT winner. Nico Hischier had 2 power play goals for New Jersey. Jack Hughes had a goal and 2 assists, and Jacob Markstrom made 37 saves. The Devs have just 1 regulation victory over the last 9 contests. They'll be back out there tomorrow night to try and rebound when they'll welcome in the aforementioned Flyers for a Saturday night date. Nothing doing locally on the hardwood, but looking ahead to tonight in the NBA, the Knicks get set to welcome in the Minnesota Timberwolves for 7:30 p.m. tip. before the Nets get underway in Los Angeles against the Lakers at 10:30. And finally, we look ahead to the divisional round weekend in the NFL playoffs with all 8 remaining teams playing for a spot in their respective conferences championship game, leading off tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 p.m. The AFC 1 seed and then 2-time defending champions Kansas City Chiefs will welcome in the 4-seed Houston Texans as 8-point favorites before the NFC 1 seed Detroit Lions host the 6-seed Washington Commanders at 8 p.m. as 9.5-point favorites in that one. On Sunday, the NFC leads off with the 2-seed Philadelphia Eagles facing the 4-seed LA Rams.
Is that the upset of the weekend, the Rams beating the Eagles?
Oh, my God. Why do you do this to me?
Well, the whole world is rooting for Los Angeles, minus
what do you
Eagles
mean?
fans, except for Eagles fans.
But there's a lot of Eagles fans out there.
Yeah, but
we're a very well-traveled, well-versed, well-spread-out fan base.
And well-behaved, too.
Yeah. You're having fun with this, with this, aren't you? Yeah.
By the way, did you? I'm watching video. My kid sent me. You didn't do this story, but it's him and his friends storming the court at Temple University last night after the basketball team knocked off Memphis, which is a top 20 team.
How about that?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, traditionally I don't usually start reporting on
Temple basketball.
Temple basketball in general. But
do you want to see the video? I can show it to you.
Yeah, sure, okay. But not right now. I'm on the air.
I was going to show you that.
Little does anybody know, we're not in the same room. So, but that's awesome. Wow, man. Yeah. So he was at the game, and then does he have to pay for the? Do they pay for the tickets, or they get those for free because they're students?
I should hope so. For what I paid tuition, he should get tickets for free.
yeah, you got that right. Well, congratulations to Temple over Memphis. How about that? Wow, yeah. And the AFC Gnome this weekend will wrap things out at 6:30. This is really the game of the weekend. 3-seed Baltimore Ravens in Buffalo to battle the 2-seed Buffalo Bills as 1-point road favorites. That is your sports. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Thank you very much, Justin. Traffic, transit now with Joe Nolan, who'll probably be like me, sitting on the couch watching these games all weekend, right?
Actually, I'm going down to North Carolina to see my granddaughters.
So nice.
I don't think I'm going to be watching very much of it, to be honest with you.
Oh, not too bad, because it's a good weekend of football.
Oh, it's the best weekend of the year in football. I love this weekend usually, but it's a birthday weekend.
Oh, that's nice.
So, yeah, so
very nice.
I got to get. I didn't see them at Christmas time either, so I got to get down there and spend some time. It's a little warmer down there too, just a hair warmer down there.
So, well, have fun.
Yeah. From the RayCatina.com traffic desk, again, the New England Thruway southbound Mamaroneck Avenue, there is a collision there. That's being cleared up and out of the way. We also have trouble on Staten Island, eastbound on the Staten Island Expressway, getting up and onto the Verrazano Bridge. Now, there was an earlier accident there. That has now been cleared, but you still have a lot of slow traffic getting up and onto the Verrazano and then getting over into Brooklyn. Don't forget, too, there is that road work there on the inbound side of the Gowanus at 92nd Street. Now, in New Jersey, a couple things going on. Southbound Route 35, all lanes are closed at Tinton Avenue in Eatontown. There is a water main break, and then on the northbound side, the left lane going to be out. Then on the Garden State Parkway, 45 is the posted speed limit south of 143C. And again, that because of a salting and sanding operation. They got just enough from this little blast of snow that happened overnight to make the road a little slippery. So that's what they're doing on the Parkway. Mass transit-wise, everybody on or close to schedule, except over on Staten Island. The Staten Island Railroad, they are going to have a couple of trains that were canceled, one at either end. So just be aware of that. And mass transit at this point, everybody else running on or close to schedule. An alternate side is in effect today. Built to perform. Experience the new 2025 Range Rover Velar P250 Dynamic SE at Land Rover Edison and Land Rover Marlboro RayCatina dealerships. Qualified buyers now get financing as low as 2.9% for up to 72 months. I'm Joe Nolan with traffic on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:50. Let's go down to Florida. Mayor Adams is going to fuel speculation even more that he's jumping to the Republican Party when he meets with President-elect Trump at Mar-a-Lago today.
The mayor's office quietly dropped a schedule update Thursday night announcing Adams' trip. Adams has talked about working with the incoming administration despite Trump's repeated attacks and complaints about his former home city and state. Adams shifted to a tougher tone on migrants suspected of crimes after meeting with Trump's incoming border czar last month. Trump has threatened to strip federal funding to the city unless it helps with his planned immigration crackdown. He's also talked of possibly pardoning Adams, who faces an April trial on federal bribery charges. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
There's another candidate officially in the race now. We kind of knew he was going to jump in. Former comptroller Scott Stringer making his campaign for City Hall official yesterday.
Stringer says he would focus on improving subway safety, cracking down on crime, creating more affordable housing, and better child care options. Appearing on WPIX 11.
I've decided that I'm entering the race for mayor. This is official.
He joins a crowded Democratic race, including Comptroller Brad Lander, State Senator Zelnor Myrie, and embattled Mayor Eric Adams. Meanwhile, it's long rumored that former Governor Andrew Cuomo plans to enter the race at some point on the Democratic side. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Senator Kirsten Gillibrand holding a press conference yesterday. One of the things she was talking about was she wants to ensure we are ready for wildfires across New York, because she's watching, of course, the devastation out in L.A.
I'm praying for these families who have lost loved ones and for the many who have been injured or displaced. While we still don't fully know the cause of these fires, we do know fires like them are becoming more and more frequent and destructive nationwide, as well as in New York.
Gillibrand sent a letter to the New York State Division of Homeland Security requesting information about the state's readiness for combat wildfires here in New York.
What's happening in Los Angeles is absolutely gut-wrenching, and I pray that such a disaster like it will never happen in New York. But we need to do the work in the present to ensure we're ready for the future. The equipment and training that's needed to stop a brush fire is very different than the equipment and training needed to take down a fire in a building.
553 NYPD cops. They want to speak with rapper and producer Method Man after an incident at a Staten Island gym.
A 28-year-old man filed a complaint against Method Man, whose real name is Clifford Smith. In it, he says on Monday afternoon he got into a fight with Method Man at the Crunch Fitness Gym in the Travis Chelsea neighborhood of Staten Island. That man had apparently been in a relationship with the rapper's daughter more than a decade ago. A rep for Method Man told TMZ the man's claims are not true. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
There'll be a surge of NYPD cops into the subway system starting Monday. This was part of Governor Hochul's State of the State she made earlier this week, where she had a plan. She announced that she would put police officers on every single subway train in the overnight hours starting at 9 o'clock. So that'll begin on Monday.
There has been an increase in some felony assaults and some murders, which is what really shakes that foundation of security that everyone deserves to have.
Hochul says the state will add 750 more officers on platforms and in stations. In addition to that, 2 police officers will be on every subway train overnight. The state will pay $77 million for the additional NYPD cops over the next 6 months. She says the goal also is to get LED lighting in all stations by the end of the year, and platform protective barriers will eventually be installed in about 100 more stations so you can't be shoved onto the tracks.
On average, it is 4 to 6 crimes a day. We have trends that show more of them are likely to occur on the overnight hours, and that's when we have to protect really the unsung heroes of our city.
And, of course, there'll be these new turnstiles. Maybe you've seen them. They're these jagged edge, fin-like things on the turnstiles so you have a harder time jumping them. Normally, right, you put one hand on one side, one hand on the other side, and then you jump over the turnstile. Now they put these jagged edge fish fin type things to stop that from happening.
So I've directed the MTA to install the modern turnstiles in 40 stations. We track where most of the fare evasion occurs. We'll hit the top 40 by the end of 26.
Now, they put them in already at the 59th station. This was earlier this week, and passengers, or I should say riders, say they already saw people jumping those turnstiles anyway, enduring a little bit of pain from these sharp, pointy, fin-like things and jumping over to get to the other side. Out in Sheepshead Bay, a homeowner taking a unique approach to keep drivers from blocking his driveway. This is I always hate people who have driveways when you're trying to parallel park on a city street. They have their own little driveway, but there's a fair amount of them across the city. And what they always complain about is people don't recognize that it's a driveway, and they park there anyway, and then they have to get them towed, or they have to wait for them to leave. So this one guy in Sheepshead Bay, he got so angry with people blocking his driveway that he's now put up 70 signs that say no parking or please do not block the driveway. And his driveway, since he's done this, has become sort of a sensation, internet sensation. People taking video, putting it up online.
It's a very difficult situation for people having their
driveway blocked.
Yeah.
So that person being so obsessive with signs.
Just a little.
I mean, I don't know if it does any good. It just looks very strange.
So on top of that, this guy, who we could not get a hold of, and apparently nobody else can either, also has 50 cameras on his property. So not only does he have these signs warning not to block his driveway, he has 50 cameras. 50 following you in case you decide to do that. I guess if the camera catches you doing this, maybe he runs outside.
I don't know. Either this person has a nice sense of humor, or they are just really fed up with.
I think he's a lunatic, actually.
Someone blocking their driveway constantly.
Yeah.
The landlord is doing too much. That's like a weird thing going on.
They want to make sure that they catch somebody, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, that's just a guy who's angry.